Professor of Political Science at Cypress College in Los Angeles. Professor, a good morning to you, our time. It's a no-brainer, isn't it? Pretty much those that don't get the vaccination are basically playing Russian roulette.
Yes, 99.5% of those who get infected are unvaccinated. Also, in the last week, Tim, 70% increase in those infections in the United States, 36% increase in hospitalizations, and 26% increase in deaths. That's a huge number in 1 week, Tim, and this is because of the Delta variant primarily, and also people not getting vaccinated. You know, only half the people have gotten vaccinated fully, and half of them believe that Joe Biden won the election. There's a correlation between those two groups, by the way. There's an overlap quite a bit, so it's very disconcerting as to what's going on right now in misinformation.
And there's some big pushes out of the US government to social media platforms and elsewhere where you have people who have influence who are, you know, spreading in some places some pretty kooky ideas.
Yeah, there are some really crazy ideas out there, and they get retweeted quickly or they're reposted on Facebook. And President Biden tried to crack down in terms of his comments about Facebook and other social media who are leaving some of these inaccurate assessments up and not taking them down. So he said they need to be more accurate in terms of allowing these kinds of posts. Very important. There are entertainers like Olivia Rodrigo, the singer, the pop singer, went to the White House and tried to get the young people to get vaccinated. There has to be an all-hands-aboard effort right now because we are at a critical juncture, Tim, as you know, as the world is, but especially the United States right now, where we have the vaccinations available. People have to put them in, get them in their arms, though. And this disinformation, misinformation from a right-wing zealots who are just anti-vax, anti-science, most of them, is really hurting the country. And it could be causing a death spiral that could occur.
Do you think that this latest outbreak might give people the motivation to go and get vaccinated? I know, look, half our country's in lockdown right at the moment, and, you know, the vaccinations are now starting to come more available because we did have a problem, particularly with the availability of Pfizer. But I think a lot of those people that were waiting for the next door neighbour or the person down the road to get it are saying, no, I'll go get it now.
Yes, they did that in Australia. I know they should be doing that over here. Let me tell you what France did. The French president made some rules about it and said that if you don't get vaccinated, you can't go to nightclubs, you can't go to restaurants, you can't go out basically into public places. And there was a surge in vaccinations in France. Only 10% of the French people said they would not get vaccinated. So 90% willing to get vaccinated. It may take something like that, sometimes strict type of regulation or rules about the need for this in the United States to get people vaccinated. Otherwise, we're not going to defeat this virus. We just are not going to do it.
Yeah, I think that's a bit of a global thing. I think that incentivisation is basically going to be the thing that breaks it. Now, the impact of US sanctions on Cuba?
Yeah, they've been horrendous for the last 60 years or so since the Cuban Revolution, and President Kennedy brought them in permanently in 1962. It cut off trade both ways to Cuba and exports from Cuba to here. And not only mentioning, with some exceptions like medicine, for example, but still, most recently, the uprising protests in Cuba were basically due to a lack of economic development over the years and coming to roost right now with the COVID pandemic, making it even worse. Because without having free trade with the United States, that restricted Cuba from getting PPE and from getting other kinds of things that they need to address this coronavirus epidemic. And yet Cuba has a lower rate of death than the United States does per 1,000. Way lower rate. It's a fraction of it. Cuba was able to keep those infections down, but now it's starting to increase because the Cuban vaccine, which is quite good, is only given to about 2 million Cubans out of 11 million. So a lot has to be done. I think you lift the embargo. President Obama started to do that. He worked on more involvement in terms of travel for Americans to go there and Cubans to come here. That kind of thing was working very well under Obama until Trump reversed it and clamped down again. And Biden has not gone back to the Obama years of opening and normalizing relations that could help a lot with Cuba overall.
What about Joe Biden and Angela Merkel? What are some of the key points to come out of those bilateral discussions?
Well, very uplifting because now we're on track to work together with the allies because President Biden is a multilateralist. He believes in working as a team to help bring about peace and security in the world. He wants to be friends again and not to have, backbiting against Germany and other countries like President Trump did. There's no need to go out there and confront them about things, instead work with them. And this is coming through support for NATO and for multilateral alliances with the allies, and it's a very encouraging sign that the Biden administration and Merkel is agreeing on this, with only one or two small disagreements, like, for example, the vaccination, in terms of Germany dragging its feet on waiving the vaccinations for the whole world to be able to access them freely. That's just a small thing. Other things are going very well with the relationship multilaterally led by the U.S. and Germany.
Professor, just give us a little bit of an insight into the way your community's working. Is everything open? Restaurants, cafes, bars? What's the story regarding face masks where you are?
I'm right here in LA County, and you mentioned that in your news item that we just recently, the LA County authorities, including the city of Long Beach and their health authorities are coordinating with LA County, have all agreed that tonight, beginning tonight at 11:59 p.m., mask mandates go back into effect. Everyone has to mask up when they're indoors, in grocery shopping, grocery stores, even restaurants, except when they're eating their food. It's getting much stricter now with this universal mask mandate being brought back again, because they realize how extremely important that is to be able to stop the virus from spreading while we get the herd immunity built up. We've got to have 70 to 85% people vaccinated. And until that happens, we cannot be relaxing our guard as they did back on June 15th when the whole state opened up again too soon, precipitously. So I think that LA County and locally here in Long Beach and LA County, they've learned that lesson and now are clamping down once again to do it in a much more measured way, a more careful way.
Well, the message is pretty clear right across the United States and here in Australia. Get vaccinated.
Yes, that's the main slogan we got to adhere to and get it done.
Peter, always good to chat. We'll chat next weekend.
You bet. Thank you, Tim.